Hi. Hello. So, Pokemon, right? Despite being a huge fan of Pokemon for years now, I only just beat my first two games recently. I beat Pokemon X and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, and I had a lot of fun with both of them. Explorers of Time was a lot sadder than I expected. In light of this, I've been in a Pokemon mood and decided, hey, I randomized some Pokemon for a possible Pokemon type swap video a few months back. This is the perfect time to drag that old concept out. For this video, I used the very specific, very scientific process of randomly generating two Pokemon of different types, taking a screenshot of what I got, and then deciding which ones I want to swap. These are actually my screenshot notes. I know, very impressive work. It's incredibly hard being a YouTuber. Before we get into the type swapping, let me explain how I'll be swapping the types. So say we generate a Pikachu and a Charizard, and I want to type swap Pikachu. Even though Charizard has two types, Fire and Flying, I won't be doing both. If I think a Fire Pikachu makes for a better design than a Flying Pikachu, then I'm making a Molten Mouse. Sure, maybe I'm doing this challenge on easy mode, but who cares? Art's supposed to be fun. Also, I'm going to be making shiny forms for all of them because I love shinies. I just won't be recording these parts because it's just simple palette swaps. And of course, I have to mention that this video is inspired by Jinja Ninja OWO. They have a lot of wonderful Pokemon-based videos, so if you want more Pokemon stuff, go head their way. It should be in the description. So for my first pair, I got Jirachi and Chespin, and as much as I love Chespin, obvious by my starter choice in X, the idea I got for a grass-type Jirachi was just too cute to pass up. Jirachi being a literal star you wish on, the idea of Starfruit Jirachi immediately took hold. So of course, I had to go with it. It would be a travesty if I didn't. Jirachi being such a relatively simple Pokemon actually ended up tripping me up a bit at first. Because there's so few details to alter, I was worried I'd make it look like a 2017 DeviantArt Jirachi OC, which is a lovely form of design, just not really what I'm going for. Thankfully I didn't end up having that issue here though. Crisis averted. The Starfruit design kind of took the reins and led me through this. I kept Jirachi's star, head, hair, hat? I kept their star whatever, and I just replaced their little wish papers with some stylized little seeds on them to better signify star fruit, and not just star head hair hat. For their tail, cape, thing, god, Pokemon designs can be so weirdly ambiguous. Anyways, their butt thing, to put it simply, I decided to turn it into leaves. I kept them in the same general shape, but changed both them and Jirachi's eye markings to be green like an actual starfruit's leaves. Speaking of being like an actual starfruit, Jirachi's eye tummy was the hardest change to make. A closed psychic eye is incredibly straightforward with just how psychic it is. I was thinking I could do the eye-looking parts in trees where a branch gets cut off, but that would result in something always open. It would also imply Grass Jirachi to be a little wooden beast, which just wasn't what I was going for in this design. I ended up settling on it being a little flower bud, so that when Jirachi uses its powers, it can still have something that opens up on the tummy. I modeled it after an actual starfruit flower, which brought in this kind of stark pink, but I think it works well. Okay, so I like the design, right? But something's just missing. Something's off. So I went back and redrew the whole thing. I didn't change anything about the design except changing the under eye markings to be pink to tie the flower bud in better, and removing the skin robe things. For redrawing Jirachi, I decided to actually mimic the official render art for Jirachi, including the pose and shading style. This left me so much happier with the final illustration. Look at him, he's a little baby. For Jirachi's shiny, I decided to suck the chlorophyll out of them. This was an easy choice because I know how much people love when a grass-type shiny looks like they could just easily blend into a pile of raked leaves, but also because of Jirachi's actual shiny. Regular Jirachi's shiny replaced their blue wish papers and eye markings with red, while also making them look like me after I take a hot shower. So I took inspiration from that while changing Grass Jirachi's flower bud and eye markings to this kind of corally orange. And boom, done, a lovely star baby is finished. The next pair was Abra and Dewott. Well, I think I could make a pretty decent water, rat, cat, goat thing? God, Game Freak, what is with the vagueness? The idea for a Psychic Dewott gave me more immediate ideas, so Oracle Otter it is. Right off the bat, I again remade the official render pose before I even started diving into designing. My first draft for a Psychic Dewott from back in September actually held up really well, so most of it was just redrawing the first draft nearly one-to-one. First thing I wanted to do was get rid of Dewott's little shells on their hips. Shells fit great for a water type, but not as much for a psychic type. Taking inspiration from Espeon, Staryu, and the Lake Guardians, I gave Dewott a little pair of gems instead. I also decided to steal original Jirachi's little robe arm designs and slap them onto Dewott. Don't worry, they aren't like vaguely skin or clothing. You can choose that they're either long fur or like a cat's primordial sack, whichever one you feel like. The cycle of ambiguous character design stops with me. I also extended Dewott's regular samurai pants fur to give it a kind of general robe look. not inspired by anything particular, but I just thought, hey, I think a psychic might wear a robe, and ran with it. For original Duat's little 2 hair tufts on their head, I decided to hit them with the emoification beam. I basically just made it way longer and draped it over one of their eyes to be reminiscent of the many psychic types that have at least one closed eye. Duat's colors were fun. I knew I wanted to change all of their blues into purples, but their gems gave me a bit of a predicament. I could either make them red to be reminiscent of Espeon and Staruse gems, or I could make them green to contrast the most with the base color without it just looking like a hunk of gold. In the end, I decided to go with red because I just thought the green would stand out a little too much for the vision I was going for. Duat's shiny was super easy. I decided to give them back their original blue as a little 1 in 4096 street. For their gems and nose, I made them the color of Duat's shells, which also doubled as a cute pearl look for the gems. Look at this mythical Mastilidae. It's like I never even type swapped them at all. The next pair we got was Aipom and Bellybolt. I don't know how to make a normal frog design that isn't just a frog, so Electric Monkey it is. Similar to Grass-type Jirachi, I got an idea that I immediately thought, oh, this is too silly not to do. Instead of keeping Aipom's handtail, I changed it into a 3-pronged plug, really channeling Elekid here. Thank you, funny socket baby. For Aipom's ears, I decided to spike them, not only for general sharp electric-type shapes, but also as a bit of a reference to spiky-eared Pichu. No real reason why I made a reference to spiky-eared Pichu, I just like them. To keep with the sharp features on this guy, I gave them a little mohawk. This type swap really is just a mishmash of other electric-type Pokemon. Elekid, Pichu, and Aptoxtricity, specifically amped form with its live electricity hair. For Aipom's colors, I complicated them a bit more than regular Aipom, who I consider to have 2 main colors. I decided to give this type swap 3. I of course gave them yellow for their main fur color, along with a lighter yellow for the underbelly, face, and prong tail. I also gave Aipom black inner ears and tail, because while regular Aipom can get away with 2 main colors since they were complementary, I couldn't, since it would overload the design with way too much yellow. For Aipom Shiny, admittedly I was just kind of swapping colors until I decided to look up Yellow Monkey to look for any inspiration, which is when I stumbled upon this handsome little guy. This is a duck?
Duck.
This is a duck, a lovely black and yellow monkey. I realized me playing with colors accidentally led to me making a simplistic duck design for Aipom Shiny, which, happy accidents, we're sticking with it. For the final pair, I got Mime Jr. and Meowscarada. I'm a big lover of clowns, so the idea of making a cat jester was just overpowering. Sorry, funny baby clown. As much as I love you, I'm going with the cat. For this design, I really leaned into Meowscarada's pre-existing performer themes. While original Meowscarada is a magician, I'm of course changing them into a clown. I shaped their masquerade mask to read a bit like a jester hat, adorned with little balls at the end. Do they jingle? Are they fluffy? That's your choice to decide. I'm going back to ambiguous character design. On the mask, I also switched out their diamond designs for those general clown eye markings and some big classic cheek designs. I switched out their flower collar with actual clown ruffles. Even though I could explain the flower collar as being reminiscent of the little clown water shooters, I felt like it would explain itself easier as just clown ruffles. For Meowscarada's little cape, I changed it into a general hanging bit of fabric with some more of those little balls adorned at the end. I fluffed up their arms more to give a general baggy clown vibe, along with swapping their big claws for big, soft-looking paw pads. They still have their claws, they're just not out. I'm not declawing a cat even if it's a fictional clown. Instead of giving them tight, like, leg designs, I thought it would be fun to give them these huge pants-like fur. Again, similar to how baggy clown outfits typically are. Oh, I'm actually not liking how this looks. Wait, let me shade it. That should help. No, it's still not great. Oh, and at this point my dog is growling at me while I'm drawing. She wants me to pick her up and, let me hurry up and finish this and, there! Meowscarada! No, this isn't gonna work. We've circled back around to 2017 DeviantArt Pokemon OC design. It's not what I want. Let me make another draft and sleep on it. Okay, for this draft, I went for a little bit more of a mischievous look for the expression, different color placements, different legs, different ruffles, and a different tail. Already, this design is a lot closer to what I want. I wouldn't have minded just inking over this for the final design, but then an idea struck. For the second draft, I decided to shrink the tail back down. Sorry. Giving them a long tail was me trying to replace the long cape. I got rid of an original Meowscarada, but I realized a wonderful thing I could do. I could make the Jester mask go down super far to mimic the silhouette original Meowscarada has. So, here we go, Meowscarada, round 2. It was pretty straightforward, lengthening the mask to look like a long jester hat, simplifying the ruffles, and slutting it up a bit by giving them their tights back. Because hey, we already have the baggy sleeves. We're too baggy here. In place of the relatively detailed leaf veining on Meowscarada's cape, I gave this swap striped tights just to keep an even level of complexity with original Meowscarada. For their palette, I took inspiration from Mime Jr., making them look a bit like a cotton candy dream, to be honest. I also added the weird plant ball thing that Meowscarada has in the form of a juggling ball. I imagine they could duplicate them to use them for really impressive shows, and also for just pelting their enemies. For the shiny design, I decided to give them a pretty coat of primary color paint, really leaning into the clown with slight jester theming look that I'm going for. Clowncore bitches, come get your food. I am incredibly happy with how this turned out. I think the weakest was maybe Apom, and even so, I think Apom is still a great design for what I was going for. I'd love to do this again, so maybe leave some type swap suggestions in the comments? I don't know, shrugs. They can be outright requests like Ice Gardevoir or Dark-type Meowth. Go nuts! And that's it for the video. Wowee, time sure flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. This video was a lot editing-wise, so it would really mean a lot to me if you did. If you enjoy character design, maybe consider subscribing. I plan on doing that a lot more. It's free, and you can always unsubscribe if you don't like it here anyways. Until next time, it's been real. I'll see you later. Before we get into the type swapping, let me explain how I'll be swiping. I also decided